Hi, and welcome to the Missouri Athletic Club Connections, a podcast highlighting the foremost private club in St. Louis, known for attracting exceptional people and enriching lives for generations. Today, we will be discussing St. Louis, the soccer city, with Dennis Moore. Dennis is the Chief Revenue Officer at St. Louis City SC. The title of this podcast is Club Connections. So, Dennis, tell us, what is your connection to the club, to the MAC?
First, thanks so much for having me and the interest in the little soccer club we're building down the street here. But my connection, I am new to St. Louis 2.5 years ago for St. Louis City Soccer Club, and my connection is President Minguez, who I got to know very well in her role at Purina, who we have a very big relationship with. And so she introduced me to the club, and I was hooked right away, both on a really just a networking kind of professional perspective, as well as I have my wife and 2 teenage daughters who were really excited about having a pool here in St. Louis. So have gotten plugged in and have been really lucky to get to know some great people. And so really it was a little bit of both, kind of the professional side of it, as well as love sitting out at that pool this time of year.
Absolutely, especially days, hot days in summer. So we love that too, and that was what was really so nice is remember having that relationship where there's not even a team yet, but here's this guy coming in from Colorado, and he's got to get connected to St. Louis. So we were very, very happy to welcome you here. But speaking of that, coming from Colorado, a big shift, if you will, still sports, but explain to us what it's like. You're going from NFL to MLS, and if I remember correctly, you're really truly new to working in MLS. So give us a little bit maybe history of NFL, what you did, but let us know how this change has been.
Yeah, you bet. So for background, my career, I spent 20 years in the National Football League. I spent 3 years to start my career at the Baltimore Ravens, then spent the previous 17 years prior to coming to St. Louis with the Denver Broncos. And I do get asked a lot the differences and similarities between going from the NFL to Major League Soccer. And it's, on one hand, it is sports, right? It is sports marketing and really
at a high level.
At a high level, right?
Either way.
Professional sports. And when you look at the National Football League, which many would say is kind of from a revenue perspective and fan engagement, TV ratings, really anything you put out there, that is the most engaged league in this country. But when you get down to a team level, I don't care if you're NFL, NBA, MLB. The businesses operate somewhat similarly, right?
Sure.
So when you get down to revenue streams and how you market and brand, yes, there are unique things in each market. There are unique things in each league, but the principles are very similar, right? So you're talking about sponsorship sales and ticketing, special events. You're talking about a fan experience that really revolves around technology and food and beverage and parking. And it's really how you brand the teams. A lot of those principles are very similar. So I felt really good coming from 2 decades in the NFL to Major League Soccer, because a lot of those things in terms of how you lead and understanding how the teams operate are very similar. The big difference in coming to St. Louis, even more so than NFL to MLS, is really just been this is a startup, right?
Yeah,
and so when I got here, my first day with the club was January 6th of 2020. There were just a few of us at that point, including ownership, which has been incredible. There's no manual, right?
Yeah.
Like MLS doesn't have like a blueprint or a manual on like, hey, on day 1 do this, on day 2. And so it really is, you lean on your past, and you lean on what's been successful, but really every day is about doing something for the first time. And there is no process. There is no, in our scenario, there is no stadium. There is no staff. There was no brand. There was no office location. There was no, so that's really been what has made me, and I mean this in a really good way, made me very uncomfortable.
Oh, sure.
It is really my learning and how I think about things on a daily basis has been really advanced, because you just are put in positions every single day that, I understand ticketing and I understand sponsorship and I understand relationships and but I didn't understand how to do this from scratch, and the magnitude of a lot of just how time consuming, as well as working for an ownership group that thankfully is so intentional about everything that they
everything
do.
Matters.
Everything matters,
Everything
right?
matters,
And this is bigger than sport for them.
Yeah.
This is about the city of St. Louis, and so being very intentional and thoughtful about everything we do means that it takes time, and it takes dialogue, and it takes so that's a long kind of roundabout way of, look, the job at the end of the day, what I'm held accountable.
Sure.
I'm very familiar with those things in my career. What I'm not familiar with is how to build it from scratch. And now that we're getting closer to the stadium being completed and playing our first match, it's been the joy and really the satisfaction of, wow, we've come a long way, and it's working, right? And that's the coolest part.
Right. Well, some follow-up questions. First of all, it probably slipped your mind. You keep forgetting to text me John Elway's cell phone number. We'll get to that later. But in hearing you talk about those things, I'm following fan posts. I'm on your app. I'm doing all those things. And you really forget that the fans start playing soccer. Just start playing soccer. And you forget that, how many years have gone into making sure that those players can walk out onto that pitch for that opening day. And so I think the fans tend to forget that. They're happy to see the progress, but you don't always think of everything that had to go into making that happen, right?
Yep.
And your team and, how you build that team and getting the right people in the right places. So
yeah, no, you're exactly right. Sometimes you forget that we are a soccer club.
Right.
Right. And we will in February of March of 23, we will take the pitch for the first time. And so, seeing our academy program launch, our MLS Next Pro City 2 team take the field this year, and seeing the players actually wear our
logo
has been surreal. But at the end of the day, making sure that we are focused on we are a sports club, we are a soccer team, and we will begin play next year. And it's not just about building a stadium. It's we got to have the team to take the pitch next year as well.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned City 2. Yeah. You were kind enough to send me over. I took the family. We went over to Edwardsville and watched a match. Now, this is the pitch. This is the sales pitch for anybody who's thinking, I just want the team to be here. I want them to take the field next year. If that's what you're waiting for, you're missing MLS soccer. As a fan of MLS, watching it on TV, watching it in person, I was honestly stunned to sit in that stadium at Edwardsville with a pretty good-sized crowd there and watched MLS action. It was not some hokey thing. It wasn't, akin to, does this feel like high school or college? It was MLS quality soccer. So, take advantage of that. And then now, you keep reading about this. The players, as you're getting them, you're seeing them. So you're going to have a chance to see, as a fan, you're going to have a chance to see your next season players playing now, which it's really a great experience.
You're exactly right. Our City 2 club, so the league is Division III soccer in the U.S. This club is performing at an incredibly high level. So we are top of the table.
Right.
And we are taking the field against a lot of MLS Next Pro teams that are actually bringing down their first team to play against us.
Yeah.
So we are competing against MLS talent. I'll refrain from calling them kids because they're not kids.
Right,
but
right. There's some younger ones.
Yeah, there
there
are some younger ones there. They have really bought into Lutz Van and Scheel and what he's building, our style of play. And they are passionate about what's going on here, and they've really bought into the culture of the club, and that really what that turns into is results on the field. So thank you for that. From that level of soccer, the level of intimacy you can have, and we've played a lot of games at Herman Stadium at SLU, and now we're over at SIUE. The access you have, the proximity you can get to these players, and I can tell you, I've been in pro sports my whole life. When you see the speed, the physicality, it's impressive to watch. And,
it was
and
very
so
impressive.
if you're just getting introduced to the sport or are an avid soccer fan, I encourage you to get out there, because one of the cool things, a lot of them are actually local. right? So this is local talent.
Yeah.
Yes, we are intermixing some international signings now. So we just announced our goalkeeper Berkey is going to be playing tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And so it's really exciting, a lot of fun, and been fun for a lot of us who have been with the club from the early days. That you know, when you see players out there wearing that crest on your chest, that's a pretty cool thing for us.
Well, and I don't know what I don't know why I didn't expect this, but to see Lutz there, you know, clearly he's not coaching, but to see him there, you know, you can tell he's orchestrating things, he's moving in and out. I don't know why I thought he would just be, you know, sitting in his office somewhere, but he was there. He's on the field. He's watching this. He's, you know, developing these players. He was there live, and so this is serious. You know, this City 2 thing is a serious deal, and it's your future right there.
Yeah, and not to talk about Lutz, but you know,
we can talk about him. Trust me, he's pretty fantastic.
You all have been the club has been very kind to have him out to speak at the Herman Awards.
Yes,
he is the most accessible, approachable. His energy levels are off the charts. This for him. He can have a lot of opportunities anywhere in the world for what his talents are, and he got as excited as I am, and a lot of us are about how unique and fun it is to build something from scratch. And the passion and the energy. He has personal relationships with our players, and he's all in and building a culture on the sporting side that is really dynamic and successful this early.
Man, you could see it. You could absolutely see it. So, so you kind of hinted on this a little bit, but you know, what is the current state of MLS, the future of MLS? You know, expansion teams happening. You know, I see this from other matches I've been to, but the sport's not dwindling; it's in a growth state. So, what can you tell us about MLS in general?
I'll try and be as quick as I can.
Right, it could be a Series 2 podcast.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm really proud to be a part of Major League Soccer. So. Major League Soccer is in its 27th year, so it is, in comparison to some of the other professional leagues in this country, it is a young league. It is going through substantial growth, as you indicated. We will join the league in 2023 as the 29th club. They've added 15 teams over the last 10 years. And we will be the 29th. There will be a 30th. A lot of conversations about Vegas, San Diego, or Phoenix. The new owners that are coming into the league, so not only locally here with the Taylor family and Jim Kavanaugh and Tom Strunk, but you also have Inter Miami. You have Austin, who just built a new stadium, Nashville. And so you can go on and on about not only new stadiums and expansion markets, but also new infrastructure, new training facilities. So that is critically important when you talk about recruiting international stars, when you talk about revenue, which makes the whole thing work, right? And you have to have the revenue streams there. But Major League Soccer is on a trajectory that is significant. And if you understand who the fans are, right, and this is at a very macro level, but soccer fans, MLS fans, number one, they are younger. Comparatively versus other sports. So our average fan is going to be between 30 to 40 years old and skews much younger than any other sport in this country. We are way more diverse, which is very significant as well. You think about sponsoring brands and the brands that want to align with the league. We have a demographic that is young and diverse that is critically important to the success of the league as we grow. Our fans are digitally native. So without getting too far into the weeds, we just announced a new national broadcast deal with Apple TV. So all of our games moving forward will be streamed on Apple TV, which you think about one of the most innovative brands in the world. They're masters of subscription models. So really how the league thinks about connecting the brand and consumption and really being forward thinking about streaming rights and cord cutters and where is the future of media. I'm getting a little long of the tongue here, right? But MLS, incredible growth, incredible new ownership groups that are investing in infrastructure and staff and players, a demographic that is very, very attractive that the league will grow with as we onboard new fans. And so you'll continue to see good inertia, a bright future for this league that I think St. Louis, when you combine the history of the sport in this market, we are poised to do things that have not been done in professional soccer in this country.
That's amazing and absolutely incredible. And I want to go back to one thing you said about the practice facilities, because very unique. Of course, St. Louisans have probably been hearing about those types of things, but here's what I want to know. Okay, so the uniqueness of having everything in one complex in the city of St. Louis. Here's what I want to know is, now that you're starting to have players here, and Lutz is starting to see those things come to shape. What is it like from the player's perspective to kind of have all those facilities and state of the art and everything all together?
I think when we are, not only those of us that work on the club, but those that are following us, when you drive through downtown West at this point,
it's transforming.
You physically see what's happening, but there's also an energy that's happening in downtown West. So our site sits on over 30 acres. And it's not just a stadium, right? So the stadium sits north of Market, in between Market and Olive. But south of Market, we also have, as you mentioned, our entire training facility. So a 40,000 square foot facility, 3 full-size practice fields. We also have acquired a building that will be our corporate headquarters. We have a approximately 10,000 square foot building that's the pavilion. That'll be a 365 team merch site with a cafe in it. So this is much more than just building a stadium. This is a campus. And to your point, when it comes to recruiting players, when it comes to recruiting people in the front office on the administrative side, it is, as I often say, we not so much anymore, but why did you name yourself St. Louis City Soccer Club? We are all about creating a renaissance and generating a bright future for this city. That is our purpose as a club. It is bigger than the sport. So the infrastructure and the investment that's gone into this campus in downtown, yes, all of those things you said, but we're also starting to see some things that are very intentional and needed as well. We're seeing other investment come into downtown West, apartment buildings, and different types of a regentrification and a renaissance that are happening. That really is the Taylor's purpose for doing this is about getting people back into downtown St. Louis, getting people to not only come down here to work, but to see sporting events, to live. And you're starting to see a lot of that investment that we hope that downtown West looks entirely different in 5 or 10 years from now. And coming from Denver, when they put Coors Field in Lodo, right? Lodo was a lot different than what it is today, right? And so you start to see these things where we're really excited about the inertia and the energy that's happening, and certainly the facilities are world class. Everything has been meticulously thought of, and so we will play in a world class facility. We will train in a world class facility. We will work in a world class facility, and that's a big part of being able to attract talent both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, and one little side note, just because I love this piece of it, is that yes, you're building state-of-the-art, world-class facilities that have to be specifically designed for you. But I also love the fact, and this just speaks to the Taylors as well, that your offices, as you said, that's a restoration. So you're doing that. You're not leveling half of that area to build all new stuff. You did where you have to build new things, but here you are over here renovating an old building as well to use as the offices. And I mean that just speaks to their character about this is how we're going to do this, and we're going to fit everything in, and really, really starting to look wonderful over there.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. First home match. It's coming. We were just talking about that, getting ready for this. Obviously, the date's probably getting circled on the calendar. At least the month of February probably has a giant circle around it. But it's going to be here, and you're going to be ready to play, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it'll be an emotional day for a lot of us.
Oh, sure.
I get asked a lot, either in recruiting and onboarding employees, like, what does success look like for you, right? And I always start with, in order for me to explain what success looks like, you really need to understand our ownership group and what the vision and mission and purpose of this club is. And I just touched on that, so I won't go into that, right? But this is to be an exceptional club and an exceptional neighbor, right? And so, but how I define success, and this is personal, but I know a lot of us share this, it's not about hitting any revenue KPI or any other KPI other than I want success for me to be defined as the feeling I have on that opening match. this has been a journey that has touched us all personally. It's been a lot of fun, but you can imagine it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to be there on that first match and know, I want to feel the energy of the crowd. I want to feel the city that has embraced this. I want it to be a wildly fun party, right? And all of those things, and I know it will be. Yeah. And so I just want that. I want that feeling of, getting the chills on that first match, and that's when I'll know it was success, based upon the love that we all have for what's going on.
Positive, you won't be alone. I know exactly that there's a lot of others on your team that are going to feel that exact same way as well as the owner group.
I will also say it's been, we talk a lot internally now as we get closer and closer that, look, that first match, by the time we get there, many of us will have been at this for 3+ years, right? Going back to when St. Louis was awarded the franchise. Right. And we've put all this energy into just getting us to that first match.
Right.
And it's actually a little bit disorienting when you think, well, that's just the start. Right. Like that's just our first game, right? We actually have to play in an entire season at that point. So, and I know Lutz and the sporting side is all focused on that, but it's really making sure that we all understand that just getting to match 1 is about the point where then it starts to be about continual refining, continual improvements, and all of those things, because we got a long season ahead of us once we get to that first day, right? And so that is not the end; that's just the beginning.
Well, you gave me this vision of you and Lutz after it's over. The dust has settled; it's a little quiet, and you saying, "Well, we did it, we made it." And he goes, "We play next Saturday, right?"
Exactly right.
I can just see that. There's another game.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And it's there's been an army of people, and obviously starting with Carolyn Kendall Betts, who's our CEO and president, and my boss, but Jason Tyne, who's our COO and general counsel, Matt Seebeck is our chief experience officer. Most of them obviously deep roots in St. Louis, and this has been a passion of theirs for a long time. So we all talk a lot. We're all, wherever our careers end up and however long, we will always share this common experience of doing this thing that will always bind us together.
Yeah. That's perfect. Love to hear that. Absolutely. So one other question I got to ask you is about the Hermann Trophy, the soccer history in St. Louis, the Hermann Trophy. Obviously the MAC is the home of that. I think we've heard it multiple times, but what does all that mean? What does, being in this soccer city, what does that mean to the team, to the ownership?
We talk a lot about St. Louis, and we have a really cool story to tell, right? And a big part of that is the history of soccer in St. Louis. So we say St. Louis is soccer past, present, and future.
I like that.
And what we mean when we say that is, as an MLS club and now professional soccer, it is our obligation and it is our honor to be able to lean into the past and the history of the sport in this community. So whether it's 1950 and the greatest victory, 1-0 over England, and many of the players on the starting 11 coming from the Hill neighborhood, to SLU with 10 national championships, to many of the international American stars that go on to play on the international stage coming from this region. The Hermann Award plays a significant part of that, and I've been very privileged to get to know the Hermann family as well as participate in some of the Hermann Awards here at the MAC. That is another proof point for us that St. Louis is the soccer capital of this country, and we have to celebrate those things, embrace those things, if we want to be able to carry that torch moving forward. And that is what we believe our club in St. Louis City SC represents, is the future of St. Louis, right? So we have to celebrate that past, but how do we translate that into carrying the torch moving forward? The Hermann Trophy is a big part of that, and we're excited to be able to embrace that as we move forward and make that a significant part of how this region identifies with the sport and the proud history, and what do we do to carry all of these things moving forward.
Right. I think that's a great example. The club itself, we talk about our traditions and history and everything else, and the Hermann Trophy is a very, very big part of that. But then, just like you said, with the future piece of it, you can think about all that history here at the club, and then the night of the Herman Awards, when those 3 males and 3 females show up and they're the brightest shining young stars in their sport, that's where you see the future. Is you see the future in these, I hate to use the word kids, these young adults who are poised, exceptional careers, and they're ready to launch in. And I think that'll be a nice thing is we'll get to celebrate together because it'll happen eventually. Somewhere down the line there will be a Herman Trophy winner who goes to play for City SC. So and that'll be nice.
We love to dream, right? Because we haven't even played our first match yet, so we can't dream. We're even how we think about youth development.
Sure.
And we've been very adamant and outspoken about our academy programs being free.
Yeah.
And really eliminating barriers to the best athletes having access to the sport.
Right.
And so we're already instituting what we call City Futures, which are primarily focused in underserved communities, where we are providing free clinics that not only focus on the basic introductions to the sport of soccer, but we're also integrating life skills into that, right? Because a very, very, very small fraction of a percentage will ever have the opportunity to play pro soccer, right? Like any sport, those are the elite of the elite. But our dream is that someday in an underserved community, we can show up and have a clinic. And in 10 years, they can end up playing for our academy program.
Right.
And then they can end up playing, potentially going to college and winning the Herman Trophy.
Sure.
And playing for St. Louis City. And that's a pretty cool, right, where they would have never had access to the sport, access to the level of coaching, the level of life skills that we're going to be able to provide, and the investments that our ownership group is making into those things is pretty incredible, and it really strikes to the core and foundation of everything we're about. So I use that as a great example about forward thinking and moving the city forward and creating a renaissance and the access to sport. I don't care what sport it is. The Blues have done a wonderful job with their juniors program, right? So you can point to a lot of different examples, but we hope to be able to bring a lot of youth into the funnel of access to the sport, and then hopefully continue to carry it on from there.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect segue, because you did mention the Blues. So you're coming into a sports city. We love our teams here. We love the Blues. We love the Cardinals. Both pretty, impressive organizations. So you're coming into that city. How's it feel? What's the dynamic like? How is City SC going to fit into that?
Even back to my days in Denver, I have several buddies there that are all St. Louisans, and so I knew what LGB was before I got here. I knew the love of the Cardinals, and knowing this is a Cardinals town. Being here, it's mind-blowing how passionate St. Louisans are. Even going back to the brief stint of the Battlehawks and going to those games and just seeing how many fans. So the engagement is off the charts. Our relationship, with the DeWitt family, with Dan Farrell at the Cardinals and his staff, as well as with Z and Chappie over at the Blues, is incredible. They've been incredibly supportive, not only on a personal level, but as really helping us as we build. There is no competition among you, right? Like this is all tides rise for everybody. Is the city, what Ballpark Village has done, what Stiefel Theater is, and hopefully what we're doing will continue to bring people to downtown, which is will benefit all of us.
Absolutely.
Right? So incredible relationships of the front offices, but from a fan perspective, I'm blown away. I've said. I did an interview the other day, and I said, hey, I don't like to talk about Denver a lot when I'm here, because this is, but Denver was a Broncos town, and I really had the privilege of being a part of a town that bled orange and blue, and grew up with John Elway, and was able to be a part of a fantastic franchise. What is happening here with City, from a fandom, from an engagement, from just an emotional reaction to the brand and how excited, it really matches what I experience in the NFL. There is incredible support. I don't care any metric you put on it. This has been wildly fun because the sport does not need an introduction.
Right.
The brand has been embraced. So when people do see that crest, they know exactly what it is.
Right.
And that's made it a lot of fun. You know, that some of the basic brand introduction things, people have loved it, right? And so that is a testament to sports in this town and just how people eat it up.
Well, and I can tell you this is the truth, and I hope you're all seeing this too. You know, what's the measurement of, how your brand is doing? Again, I know City 2 is playing, and that's wonderful. But you guys haven't taken the pitch yet, and the colors are everywhere. They're out there. The flags are out there. The shirts are out there.
I've been traveling quite a bit lately, and my favorite thing is, whether you're leaving St. Louis or on a flight back into St. Louis, trying to count the number of people that you see, in sweatshirts and hats. And,
right.
And it's awesome, right? Even stickers on cars. And it's, it does make you like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes, pretty proud, right? Got to be pretty proud.
Yeah.
And I'm saying all that knowing that one of the key pieces, when you go to an MLS stadium, we don't even have yet. There's no kit. There's no jersey.
That's
like, you don't even have that piece yet, and you're seeing City merchandise everywhere. And nobody owns a jersey yet.
And nobody owns a kit yet.
Right,
which
that's
is
incredible.
Hopefully coming in November, but it's
good. I was going to ask you if you could give us any insight. So good.
Yeah,
so
I think it's obviously suppliers and working with Adidas and I think our fans will be ecstatic about the way it came out.
Good.
But it turns out there's a lot of supply chain issues out there in the world right now. So we're working with the suppliers to make sure that we can pull this off, and when it's ready is when we'll announce it.
Well, we'll make a sacrifice. We can't get our chairs to come in for the Jack Buck Grill, so if we can get your kits here, we'll sacrifice the chairs to get the kits here. Exactly. So wonderful. Love to hear it about that sports experience. So let's. Is there anything you can here we can talk about? The kit might be available in November. Anything else you can tell us that you can reveal about the fan experience, about the stadium? We're seeing it come to life. We're seeing what the Fuse Plaza now. We're seeing some of these pieces. Anything you can tell us that we should be looking forward to? Anything about the experience, the game day experience?
Yeah, and I'll really when it comes to this, I'll say a lot of the things, kind of regurgitate Matt Seebeck, who's our Chief Experience Officer, which is just to spend a second on that.
Yeah,
we're one of the very first sports teams in the world to hire a role with the title of Chief Experience Officer.
Sure.
So you asked me about fan experience, and so I needed to touch on this, that we took traditional CMO marketing responsibilities, combined that with tech infrastructure, app development, and fan experience into one role, and Matt Seebeck is the perfect fit for that with his background in digital and tech and agency and fan experience. So just a couple things on the fan experience that we're all really proud of. One, when you think about building a stadium in the middle of a pandemic, we've used the term a lot, we will be the first of the new, not the last of the old.
Great.
And what that means when you think about tech infrastructure, our goal, we will be cashless. We will work to eliminate friction at every possible place that we possibly can via the use of technology.
Yeah.
So think about your app, and we will have just walkout markets, the ability to walk in, grab what you want, and walk out, and your phone is charged. Think like an Amazon Go market.
Right.
So technology will really power a lot of the fan experience. Food and beverage, we will be intentionally local and delicious.
Nice.
So we've gone through a whole process. We got over 9,000 restaurant submissions from our fans about we want to go into all of these communities and select the favorites of geographic diversity, but also cuisine diversity. So whether it's your local neighborhood restaurants, we want them to be a part of that food and beverage experience in the stadium. So everything we do is incredibly intentional. It's incredibly local. It is driven by technology, and it is driven by the passion and the dream that we can eliminate as much friction, as much waiting in lines as we possibly can. So Matt Seebeck and his team have really done a bang up job and excited to get there on the first match to see what that all looks like. Yeah. So the fan experience will be really cool, and we're excited to start to get folks in there.
Yeah, and that's exciting. I mean, I love using the word friction, but let's be honest, I don't care what professional sports that you can go to a Billikens game for that matter. I mean, friction's a part of it. It's just what it is. You're used to that. You're used to standing in lines. You're used to nothing being really where you want it to be. So any strides towards that is going to be incredible.
And soccer creates unique challenges.
Oh, it does, especially the play,
right,
the way it's played.
You have two running 45-minute halves. And so traditionally in soccer, your fans and your supporters, they're in their seats, right? Because that's a running clock. There is no stoppage of play, right? There is no breakage. There's no TV timeouts, right? So if you do the simple math, we've got roughly a 30-minute window pre-kickoff, and you have a 15-minute halftime, 22,500 seats.
Right.
You have to serve people food and drink, restrooms, in a 30-minute window pre-match and in a 15-minute window at halftime. And the math just doesn't work. Right? So you have to start to chip away. If you can create a concession experience where somebody waits in line traditionally several minutes, and you can even eliminate 30 seconds of that friction, and you multiply that by 22,500 fans, that makes a difference, right? But if you could take an average 2-minute wait and make that 15 seconds. Imagine what that does for
making a
it's
significant
throughput
impact.
And it's line queuing and it's all those different things that we're studying, and it'll be continued refinement, right? But how do you leverage technology to improve that fan experience and spending a lot of time with that?
Perfect. That's wonderful. That's enough of an insight to make you excited to go to a game just for that. So, then there's playing soccer too. That'll be a part of it, I guess. Well, I think we got through most of our questions. That's kind of what we were looking for. Any other last tidbits, anything we should be watching for maybe coming up this fall as it approaches? Kit coming out possibly November. Anything else we should be looking for?
Yeah, I think we'll continue to, this year before we do take the pitch, right, in pro soccer, we're building a franchise. We're building a fan experience. We're selling season tickets. We're onboarding corporate sponsors. That food story and, which we've talked a lot about, you'll start to see a lot rolling out around that. So we're excited to really tell our story and why we're unique and why St. Louis and St. Louisans should be really proud about what's going on in this city. We want to be the beacon of good, right? And we really want to give people in St. Louis the reason to be proud. We think doing that through an international sport is a great way to do that. And so that answers a lot of that, right? We're excited.
Checks a lot.
I can touch on a lot of things, but and I've mentioned this publicly a lot. The support from this community has been incredible. I'll start with the business community, which really goes into suite sales, a lot of our premium seating and our sponsorship conversations. Leadership of all of the institutions in this town have been incredible to work with. We've announced a lot of those partnerships already, and we have a lot more that are teed up coming down the pipeline. And sponsorship's a critically important part of running any sports team, but we're really excited because we're doing it with the right brands. We're doing it with brands who are really excited to share a renaissance in St. Louis and lean into what we believe in. So there's been incredible just energy in the business community. Season ticket holders,
seeing a lot of that excitement right now.
It's been well reported. We've got over 60,000 deposits for season tickets. Edmund Elzy is our VP of ticketing. He's now executing the process of inviting all deposit holders down when their timestamp is up for a personal tour of the stadium before they select their season tickets. That process is going incredibly well. Our supporter groups, the Luligans, and new ones popping up like the Punks, and which is really cool and exciting for us. And our supporters are really that heartbeat and that energy of not only non-match day, but what we do on match day. And they've been incredibly supportive and receptive. And so we're excited to continue to work with them. Community groups. I can't think of one group that hasn't embraced us and showed up with their support, whether that's something as simple as liking us on social media, or opening their wallets and buying season tickets, or corporations stepping up and doing sponsorship. So I think a lot of what you'll see is over into the fall, us talking a lot about those things, as well as look, the stadium's going to open, and we will start to host events in the stadium. Stay tuned for announcements on some of those things, but we're excited to start to program the facility as we get into the fall here. And we're ready, and we know that operationally the building's ready, and we can start to roll out the red carpet for some of those things. So, and then obviously once you get into the first quarter of next year, we actually start playing soccer.
There you are.
And it becomes more about Lutz and how we all love the team and show up in big ways to cheer and create a home field advantage.
Well, I know you won't be busy at all on that opening day, but you should really go to some of the glass where you can see down Market Street and watch the MAC shuttles rolling up to drop off our members. So they'll be there.
And the members have been, not only from Wally and you, and the staff have been incredibly supportive of us and in our front office staff, and anytime we have a need. But I've gotten to know so many of the members, either through the MAC or not, that we all share this energy of and the passion for the MAC as well. So it's it'll be really fun. And I think I have one commitment on our opening match. Well, I would say two, because I can't forget that I'm going to have to find my wife and kids and give them a hug and a kiss, and thank them for being along on this journey with me. And then I have committed I will be in the supporter section to throw down a cold beer and celebrate that moment with our supporters as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. They will they'll be over the moon about that. That's perfect. Well, Dennis, this has been a spectacular conversation. I know our listeners as well as our members are going to love hearing all of this, the inside view of their newest team, because obviously we're passionate about that as well. If you want to learn more about St. Louis, the soccer city, you can visit stlcitysc.com. Stay up to date with everything in your hometown. I will also tell you, download that app. It alerts you. You get all the notices on everything. I love it. I find out everything as soon as it happens. So, again, Dennis, thank you so much for being here. It was really, truly a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.